So it feels pretty surreal to say this, but after 13 huge weeks of studying 2 third-year units, advanced topics in health psychology and neuropsychology in clinical practice, what has honestly been one of the most demanding semesters of my entire degree, particularly because of my spinal surgery, it is finally time to clock off, reflect a little bit more about this experience. These units pushed me more than I expected. They stretched my discipline, my focus, sometimes my patience, but it also sharpened my thinking in ways that I am genuinely grateful for. So I'll share a couple of them now. One of the biggest things I learned was that growth isn't quiet. It's gritty, it's late nights, it's the repetition, the rereading, the uncomfortable moments where the content directly challenges your assumptions, from understanding why intentions fall apart without action plans to realizing that stress is actually a transaction between what happens to us and what it means to us. I started to see my own study journey in the theories that I was learning. I've also thought a lot and learned a lot about adjustment to illness, which is this process of accommodating to new limits and identities. Early on, shock and fear dominate. Later, fatigue, uncertainty, and role disruption takes over. And the predictors of better adjustment are consistent approach coping, support quality, meaning making, perceived control where control actually exists. Speaking of meaning, meaning-focused coping is not sugarcoating. It is finding coherence, purpose, or growth despite loss. Cognitive reappraisal really fascinated me. It is, I think, the workhorse of coping. It reframes threat as challenge or reframes uncertainty as an invitation to prepare. And the aim is not to deny reality, but to widen possible responses within reality. Coping, for instance, I discovered isn't about staying calm. It's actually about staying connected to what matters. Meaning-focused coping particularly showed me that even in uncertainty, people can find purpose. And honestly, that carried me through the moments during uni, life, recovery, all of that collided. And digging into obesity research, that was a game changer for me. It taught me that weight isn't willpower. It's actually biology, environment, stress, sleep, emotion, everything layered together. The evidence around this has reaffirmed and reminded me and pushed me to even more replace judgment with gentleness, not only towards others, but to myself. And it was important, especially during those times when I hit moments where the study load felt overwhelming. Cultural safety was also top of mind for me during this semester. It shifted something in me, particularly learning about First Nations health. It reminded me that healing isn't just clinical, it's relational, it's respectful, it's shared. The idea of power sharing, listening without assuming, that has stayed with me in a way that goes beyond the classroom. And it's also something that we're reminded of often at Lifeline. But the biggest lesson I would say is this: whether it's health behavior change or finishing a psychology degree, the engine is still the same. Self-efficacy, structure, and meaningful support, also persistence, even in small amounts and small moments, it does compound. And so as I head into my final exams, the final days of my Bachelor of Psychology degree, I can feel how far I've come, not just academically, but personally. This semester has tested me, but it's also taught me. And being here now, I'm proud of the work that I've put in, the effort, the persistence, and the person I've become through it all. So on that note, it's time for me to get some shut-eye. Wish me luck for tomorrow and next week. All right, exam 1 of 2 done, advanced topics in health psych. It was tough. Saturday morning exam. It's now just past 1 p.m. on the 15th of November. It was tough in terms of it being very lengthy, multiple choice, but very much applied knowledge testing. You really had to know theories and concepts and subtleties. What I've learned with psychology is there is such a gray area when it comes to what the best answer might be. So oftentimes we are taught to think about what the most appropriate answer for something, because there could be multiple that are partially appropriate. And it's something I've seen consistently with assessments, that we need to think critically. We need to evaluate what we can credibly, validly, and reliably say about a certain topic or issue or case, because there are multiple factors involved, especially when it comes to biopsychosocial side of things. But anyway, I am relieved that I've done 1 exam out of 2. The next one is on Thursday, and it's my last exam for the degree. It's neuropsychology in clinical practice. That is going to be 40 multiple choice plus 2 somewhat long form written answers to write for. More study to be had, but right now just taking a quick breather. Yeah, overall I'm feeling very, very happy. with the effort that I put in under the circumstances. The information we're given in such a short period of time, learning about huge topics, is so dense. It is so much content to cover. A lot of these lectures, especially third year units, has anywhere between 60 to 120 slides. And typically these slides are very content heavy. So they're not your polished visual design style slides. These are rich in text a lot of the times, anywhere between 60 to 120 slides, depending on the lecture week to week. So there's a lot of information to absorb and it can be overwhelming. I think what I've come to realize now is that it's important to focus on what's emphasized by the lecturer and the tutor and match that with the learning outcomes, because there simply is so much information that it can be crippling and quite stressful to think, okay, well, what's going to be likely on the exam? What are they really testing us for? Because oftentimes they're also including historical, chronological information so that we're aware of the progression of how these approaches have come to fruition. For example, health models and theories around what describes and explains and predicts health behavior. There are many models that we were exposed to, but they have been developments and been developed. And then there are researchers and academics who have taken parts of those models and gone deeper into those things. So for example, the appraisal process of primary and secondary, where one first identifies if something is a stress or a stressor, and then moving on to evaluating within themselves if they have enough resources, including coping resources, to deal with the so-called threat. And another example, there's something called the diathesis stress model, which posits predisposed vulnerabilities in people depending on the environment or circumstance that they're in. So there's a lot of different terminology as well that we need to learn about. Terminology is important because when we are doing our own due diligence and research and literature reviews and writing reports, we have to ensure that we are talking about the right thing. There's something that we learned recently in this advanced health topics unit about the jingle jangle fallacy, which is around many different names for the same concept. That's jingle, and jangle, if I recall correctly, is many different concepts having the same name. That's a criticism in psychological science and in science in general. But anyway, I'm waffling on now. I should probably take a bit of a breather and get something to eat. It is the weekend, but it doesn't feel like it because I still now need to dive into neuropsychology content. Thought I'd quickly share my initial post-exam thoughts and feelings, which is always nice to document and also to connect with others who might be on this similar journey. All right, until next time, talk soon.